All right, so we're doing a deep dive today on ConnectSphere.
ConnectSphere.
Yeah, it's this new web app.
Yeah.
It's meant to be like a hub for, all your digital stuff.
Hmm.
And the crazy thing is, this whole thing was built in just one day.
Really? Just one day? That's impressive.
Yeah, and we've got some sources here, a technical overview, and then something a little more, I guess you could say, marketing focused.
Okay.
But they both make this thing sound pretty interesting, so I'm kind of curious to see what you think about it.
Yeah, well, it's certainly an impressive feat, building a whole platform in a day.
So can you break it down for me? What exactly is ConnectSphere?
So imagine
It's like a website, right?
yeah, kind of like a personal website.
Mm-hmm.
But you can collect all sorts of things there, like images, links,
Yeah.
text, even audio and video.
Okay.
But the real key is how you can arrange and style it all.
Mm.
ConnectSphere lets you apply your own CSS, so you're not stuck with those same old templates.
Wait, custom CSS. Hold on.
It sounds a little complicated for, the average person.
Yeah.
Is this just for serious coders?
Well, that's what makes ConnectSphere so interesting. They actually have a live editor built in.
Oh, good.
So as you're tweaking the code, you see the changes happen right there on the screen.
Uh-huh.
And they offer a bunch of predefined themes too.
Oh, okay.
Like minimalist, retro 90s, all sorts of stuff.
Okay.
So it's kind of like having this visual toolbox, even if you're not a coding expert.
So you don't really have to know how to code to make this look good.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so I'm starting to get it, but why not just there's tons of website builders out there.
Right.
What's the advantage of using ConnectSphere?
Well, think about the different types of content you can use. You're not limited to just static images and links. You can embed audio players. Right on the page, you can host videos. You can add really detailed descriptions.
Yeah.
It becomes this whole multimedia experience.
And with drag and drop sorting, you can control exactly how it all flows.
Oh, that's cool. So I could create a resume that's actually interactive.
Exactly.
And then I could embed work samples and audio, testimonials, that sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly. And they generate QR codes for each page.
Oh, wow.
Imagine putting that on your business card.
That's smart.
Someone scans it.
Yeah.
Boom. They're right there in your online world.
Okay, but all this stuff about user-generated content, what about security? How do we know that this is safe and secure?
Well, both sources, they really emphasize security.
Right.
They use password hashing,
Okay.
which basically scrambles your password.
Right.
So even if someone gets into the system, they can't actually see your password.
Okay.
And they use email verification to prevent people from just signing up using your email address.
Right, right.
And to weed out spam accounts and stuff.
Okay, that makes me feel a little bit better. I guess I'm also thinking about the user experience. Can ConnectSphere really work for everyone? It seems like it might be too much for some people.
Well, that's where their approach comes in.
Okay.
It's very modular. They talk about blueprints and
Blueprints.
yeah, and separation of concerns.
Okay.
Which basically means the platform is super flexible. It can adapt to all these different use cases. So whether you're a job seeker, a musician,
Yeah.
or a small business, you can all use this platform.
So they're aiming for this kind of a one-size-fits-all solution.
Well, they also mentioned that they have separate dashboards for admins and stylers.
Stylers.
Yeah, which suggests that they're thinking about this community-driven design. So you can have people creating and sharing all these custom styles and themes.
So it could kind of grow organically in that way.
Exactly.
Okay, well, now that we kind of have the basics, I want to explore the potential impact of a platform like this.
Yeah, that's a good idea. It has a lot of potential, but, like any new platform, there are going to be some challenges.
Right.
One thing that comes to mind is this reliance on custom CSS. It's great for flexibility,
Right.
but it's a lot to ask of users, especially if they're not familiar with code.
Yeah, even choosing between predefined themes
Right.
could be kind of overwhelming if you don't have a design eye.
Exactly.
It seems like there could be this this divide between users who really know how to use that customization,
Yeah.
and then those who are just kind of stuck with the basic options.
It's a valid concern, and I think a lot of their success will depend on building a strong community of
Yeah.
what they call stylers, people who are creating and sharing all these different themes.
Right, and that takes time.
Yeah, it takes time, it takes effort.
Yeah.
They need to give people the right tools, the right incentives
Yeah.
to really get that creativity flowing.
Well, and what about content overload?
Hmm.
If you can add all these different types of media, I could see things getting, you know, pretty cluttered and hard to navigate. Like, how do they prevent that from happening?
It really comes down to design
Yeah.
and user education. So they need clear guidelines, best practices for content organization, maybe even templates like visual cues
Okay.
to help people structure their pages well.
Yeah, that makes sense. But even with a well-organized page, I mean, if anyone can share anything, how do you handle content moderation? How do you prevent misinformation? I mean, inappropriate content, we talked about security,
Yeah,
but this seems like a whole other issue.
absolutely. And that's where those security features become even more important.
Okay.
Being able to ban certain emails or usernames, that's a start.
Right.
But as the platform grows, they're going to need more robust tools.
Yeah.
Maybe a flagging system so users can report content, maybe even human reviewers for more sensitive stuff.
Yeah.
It's a balancing act between freedom of expression
Right.
and making sure the platform is safe and trustworthy.
That's a tough one for sure. And what about, all the legal stuff? Copyright, data privacy, things that really complicated fast.
Yeah, they do, especially with user-generated content.
Exactly. Have they even addressed this at all?
Both sources were a little vague on the legal details.
Okay.
They mentioned ConnectSphere is built on the Flask framework, which is generally considered secure.
Yeah.
But that doesn't really tell us how they handle data privacy.
Right.
I think transparency is going to be super important.
Yeah.
Users need to know how their data is being used, how it's being protected.
Right.
They need a clear, accessible privacy policy.
So many potential pitfalls. Design accessibility, content moderation, data privacy, legal compliance. It's a lot for any platform to handle.
It is.
Let alone one that was built in a day.
Right. But I think it's important to remember what they have accomplished.
Yeah.
I mean, to build something this feature-rich in 24 hours.
That's incredible.
It shows they can move fast, they can adapt.
Yeah.
I'm really curious to see how they handle these challenges as ConnectSphere develops.
Okay, so we talked about some of the potential downsides, but I'm still kind of hung up on the security stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, we talked about password hashing and email verification, but can you just break those down a little more?
Sure.
Like, what makes them so important for a platform like this?
All right, so we talked about the features, potential problems, all the security stuff. But let's think bigger picture for a second.
Okay.
What does a platform like ConnectSphere tell us about, like online identity in the future?
Oh, that's an interesting question.
It seems like a pretty big departure from,
Yeah.
Facebook, Instagram, all that.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely part of this trend we're seeing
Right.
where people are looking for more control.
Over their online presence, moving away from these huge platforms.
Yeah.
Towards something more personalized.
But less about like fitting into their mold and more about creating your own space.
Exactly. With ConnectSphere, you decide what you share,
Right.
how you design it, who sees it.
Yeah.
It's like a more user-centric web where people have more ownership.
Okay, that sounds great, but doesn't that also come with like more responsibility?
Yeah, for sure.
If everyone's crafting their own digital identity, how do we know it's real?
That's the big question.
Yeah.
And it goes way beyond just ConnectSphere.
Right.
I mean, as the web becomes more decentralized, we need new ways to verify information,
Yeah.
figure out what's credible.
Right.
It's a tough problem. No easy answers.
What about the digital divide? We were talking earlier about, some people might not be comfortable with CSS.
Right.
Does this idea of everyone making their own space online, does that risk leaving some people behind?
It's a valid concern. I mean, we have to make sure these tools are accessible
Yeah.
to everyone, whether that's, simpler interfaces, better education, or even like completely different ways to personalize your online presence.
It kind of feels like we're entering this new era of the web, like more fragmented, more personalized,
Yeah.
maybe even a little more chaotic. Is that a good thing?
I don't know. It's too early to say.
Right.
Like any big shift,
Yeah.
there are going to be opportunities and challenges.
Yeah.
I think it's great that people have more control, but we have to be aware of the downsides and try to address them.
So where does ConnectSphere fit into all of this? Is it like a preview of what's to come or just a fad?
I mean, it's hard to say which platforms will be around in a few years,
Right.
but the idea behind it, the idea of giving individuals more control,
Yeah.
That's something I think we'll see a lot more of.
We covered a lot today: features, potential problems, security, the whole online identity thing.
We did.
So what's the one big takeaway for our listeners?
Well, I think ConnectSphere is a really interesting example of how the web is changing.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about empowering the individual,
Mm-hmm.
customization, rapid development,
Right.
but it also brings up all these important questions about accessibility, moderation,
Mm-hmm.
privacy, the future of online identity, all that.
So what does this mean for you listening right now? It's time to really think about your own online presence.
Mm-hmm.
What are you using? How are you presenting yourself?
Yeah.
What are you doing to protect your data?
Right.
ConnectSphere is just one example, but
Mhm.
it's a sign of what's coming. The power is shifting to the individual. The question is, what are you going to do with it?
That's a great question to think about, and I think that's a good place to wrap up.
Yeah, thanks for joining us on this deep dive into ConnectSphere. We hope you learned something new, maybe got some new perspectives, and hopefully you're feeling inspired to rethink your own relationship with the web. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep.